Since I've released my last couple videos, I don't think I've had more requests for a direct paddle-to-paddle comparison than I have with these two. And that's for good reason. The Honolulu J2NF and J2FC Plus are two of the best paddles on the market right now, and quite possibly two of the best paddles to ever have been made. Testing these paddles side by side, there's some obvious similarities, but really there's some stark differences in the way that these paddles feel and play that make me think players are going to have a clear preference if they're choosing between these two paddles. In terms of our first similarity, both of these paddles come to $175 with the use of this channel's discount code PBMED, which I still think is a great deal, not only for these paddles' perceived durability, but for their performance on the actual court and gameplay. Both of these paddles come in Honolulu's Aero hybrid shape, are 16mm thick and have an all-foam core, which means the #1 reason paddles break, which is core crushing, is literally not possible here. The center foam of these paddles is a harder foam made from expanded beads, and that outer foam layer is a more squishy EVA layer. If we look at the x-rays of these two paddles, it doesn't take 4 years of med school and however long of residency to see the first of two main construction differences here. Where the inner and outer foam layers meet, you can see a more notched interwoven intersection in the J2NF model, and while the J2FC Plus has the same foam in the inner and outer foam layers, the junction where they meet is just straight. Other differences in terms of cores and how they're constructed is literally just the same. So if you're using Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen whatever construction, these are the same. One has notches, one is straight. That's the only difference in the cores here. I typically refer to Gen 4 paddles as an all-foam core paddle, so to me, both of these are Gen 4 constructed paddles. In both models, you can also appreciate the abrupt stop of this dense appearing object, which is the carbon fiber tubule of that yellow foam used in the thermoforming process, which starts in the handle and goes just above the opening of the face here, which serves to strengthen the handle and the throat of both of these paddles. It's also pretty important to note that in my dissection of the J2NFK, where the edges meet here, there's quite a bit of movement. It didn't take any gameplay to free these up, which accounts for the lack of break-in in the NF models. Aside from that, the second of the two construction differences here is just the way that the face is laid up. The J2NF has a carbon fiber fiberglass carbon fiber face, while the FC Plus just has carbon fiber layers, no fiberglass. Numbers wise, these are so similar. They follow the typical Honolulu pattern of low swing weights and ultra high twist weights. Usually twist weights above 7 are seen in more wide body type paddles, and if you reference the 𝑫𝒊𝒔𝒄𝒐𝒐𝒏𝒕 Pickleball Pursuit database, which is closing in on 600 different paddles, if you look at all the hybrid shaped paddles in this database, a good chunk of those in the top 10 highest twist weights are Honolulu paddles. One is the J2NF and one is the J2FC Plus. So if you're looking for an ultra stable paddle and you like the hybrid shape, you're not going to do much better than these, and that's not even taking into account the fact that these are foam enhanced, which makes that number all the more impressive. I'm going to put a summary chart of the major differences between these paddles on the screen now, and you can pause and look at it more if you like. I've ordered this from most different to most similar, and if we start at the top, in terms of feel, this is the biggest thing I think is different between these two paddles. Our J2FC Plus has more of that classic Gen 3 type feel with high ball absorption and high dwell time. So are people who like the feel of the 𝑳𝒊𝒏𝒌 Pro 4s or a more broken in Pulse S or Pulse X. The FC Plus is probably the feel you're going to like the most. The J2NF has more of a crisp, responsive feel with relatively lower dwell time, at least compared to the FC Plus model, and I'd say our players who like the feel of the 11/6/24 power paddles or the Franklin C45, this is going to be more the feel that you're going to like. In terms of pop and power, the J2NF gets the edge here. The FC Plus model gets the nod here for spin, which is probably due to its higher ball absorption and was noted with higher RPM measurements, and I felt that that was true in gameplay as well. Sweet spots are about the same and stability is high in both of these models. And though these are still new and a lot of this is speculation, but based on a pretty well educated guess, durability on both of these paddles is going to be pristine. Now I'll dive just a little bit deeper into the specifics of the gameplay of each of these paddles. The J2FC Plus is actually the model that I prefer of these two, and I'd say I've been maining it 50-50 or so with the Mark II R2, just depending on what I want on a given day. I've always been a high dwell time, high ball absorption type guy, and I personally really love the feel of a broken in type Gen 3 paddle. I just wish the classic ones were more durable, which these clearly are. I was pretty surprised to find that the very first time I hit the FC Plus, it felt like a Gen 3 paddle that had already broken in. There was good core movement, good ball absorption, and the feel was overall very pleasant. I felt like I could really unleash and just put a lot more energy on my serves with the FC Plus, and that's probably because the paddle felt like it had more of a grab and throw type effect, and that's the way that spin activates best for the way that I swing. I think the FC Plus has the best intersectionality of the feel of a Gen 3 paddle while incorporating an all foam core. I put this overall in the low end of the power category, and like I said before, this is going to be my paddle of choice for people who like the feel of a Yola Pro 4, but want more stability, a better sweet spot, and the elite durability that's just never going to be accomplished by paddles who have honeycomb in their core. And not to mention, all these perks come at a substantially lower price. Keep in mind the Yola Pro 4s do hit harder than these, so if you want the top end of power, these are good, but they're not that high. The J2NF has a more crisp, sharp, responsive feel to it, largely because of that fiberglass layer and probably a lot because of that interlocked core intersection too. It has a lower dwell time than the FC Plus, and if I compare it to another paddle, it has just a sliver less dwell time than the carbon true foams. If you like a faster, more sudden pop, and you like the ball to come off the face of your paddle much faster than paddles with a higher dwell time, or if you know you're a player who likes that fiberglassy type feel like with the 11624 power paddles or the Core Super Quartz, or maybe even a little bit like the Bread and Butter Invader, only just a little softer and more forgiving, then I'd say you'd probably like the J2NF more than the FC Plus. Since it's the dead of summer and I've been playing more, unfortunately, in the 90+ degree weather, I have discovered a nice perk in paddles who have that fiberglass layer, which does seem to add some support and resistance to paddles that get softer in heat. Relative to how they played inside, the J2NF changed less in the extreme heat of the outdoors than the J2FC Plus model did. So if you're playing outside a lot in those extreme temperature, maybe high humidity type conditions, the fiberglass layer in the NF adds some fortification that you might really like. It's genuinely hard to find things to complain about these paddles, but I will highlight 3 things. First, the lowest hanging fruit. You'll hear this over and over and over. The handle of both of these paddles doesn't really allow for 2 hands. You've got to be okay with putting a finger up or not having 2 complete hands down on the handle at the same time. The second thing is, I think the cosmetics could use a little revamp, though I like the way that these black Honolulu paddles look better than all the other colors they offer. And last but not least, the naming scheme on these is just complicated, so if you're looking at getting one of these paddles, don't get the wrong one on accident. So in summary, here's our main takeaways. These paddles are 2 of the front runners for best paddles that have literally ever been made, and that's not just for perceived durability, which is huge, but also for literal performance on the court, including a new offering of offensive capability. The FC Plus is going to be the choice for people who like that more Gen 3 type feel with a higher dwell time, more ball absorption, and more of that classic grab and throw type feel. While the NF is going to be the choice for people who like a crisp pop and a slightly higher power with less ball absorption and a faster recoil compared to the FC Plus. And that's my take on the Honolulu J2NF and FC Plus. I hope the comparison was helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you here for the next one.